Quadratic equations are the most difficult types of questions on the digital SAT. Desmos may help, but it won't save you on the toughest questions. You still need to have all the content covered in this video down cold. There are three forms that quadratic equations come in. The first is standard form. Y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c. To find the x-intercepts of a quadratic equation in standard form, your first line of defense is factoring. Ask yourself, what two numbers have a product of c and a sum of b? For example, if y is equal to x squared plus 3x minus 40, what two numbers have a product of negative 40 and a sum of 3? That would be negative 5 and 8. So the factors are x minus 5 and x plus 8, which makes the x-intercepts 5 and negative 8, since those are the values of x that make y 0. If you have a quadratic equation with a number in common to each term, be sure to pull that number out before factoring, and also be on the lookout for difference of squares form. For example, if y is equal to 2x squared minus 18, we want to pull out that 2 first to get y is equal to 2 times x squared minus 9. And then we can split up that difference of squares into its factors to get x plus 3 and x minus 3. Sometimes it's not possible to find the x-intercepts of a quadratic equation by factoring. Fortunately though, the quadratic formula will always tell you whether the x-intercepts exist, and if they do, what they are. In short, factoring is faster when it works, but the quadratic formula always works. There aren't that many things that you need to memorize for the digital SAT, but the quadratic formula is at the top of the list. It's not on the formula sheet. The portion in the radical is called the discriminant. If the discriminant is positive, then there are two solutions. If the discriminant is negative, then there are no real solutions. If the discriminant is 0, then there's one solution, and its value is x is equal to negative b over 2a. Not coincidentally, x is equal to negative b over 2a is also the equation for the axis of symmetry of a parabola, regardless of how many x-intercepts the parabola has. Locating the x-coordinate of the vertex by hand is extremely important on the digital SAT, so you need to memorize this as well. The second form of quadratic equations that you need to know is factored form. Y is equal to a times x minus r times x minus s, where r and s are the x-intercepts. Be prepared to write a quadratic equation in this form when given the x-intercepts. And don't forget that a. For example, if you know that 3, 0 and 5, 0 are on your quadratic equation, then it must be of the form y is equal to a times x minus 3 times x minus 5. The last form of quadratic equations you need to know is vertex form. Y is equal to a times x minus h squared plus k. Be prepared to write a quadratic equation in this form when given the vertex. For example, if you know that the vertex is negative 4, 7, then the function is of the form y is equal to a times x plus 4 squared plus 7. Most of you have seen all this before, but as you'll see in my example problem walkthrough video, the test makers have a special way of making this musty old Algebra 1 content audaciously difficult.